Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am so excited with this video idea. I also was a character attendant along with being a performer for Disney, and I absolutely loved being a character attendant. I did that first on my Disney college program, and so I wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about what it was really like being a character attendant for Disney. So let's just get started. The first thing I want to tell you about being a character attendant is that it is a very underappreciated role. You have a lot of things that you're doing. You're making sure the performer is okay and safe at all times. You're helping out with cameras, you're helping get the books ready, you're moving the line along. You have to be a really good multitasker to do this job, and I feel like it's very underappreciated. As soon as the guests walk in the room, their eyes just go right to the character, and they don't even notice the character attendant as they're trying to tell them, like, hey, move forward, make sure you have your books ready, and you have to be that annoying person that stands in front of them while they're trying to like look at Elsa and tell them, oh hi, do you have your pen and paper ready? So it's not very fun, it's very underappreciated, and I feel like it gets a lot of the slack from the angry guests. The angry guests don't ever get mad at Anna and Elsa, they get mad at the character attendants. So it's very underappreciated, but it's also very rewarding too. What I loved most about being a character attendant is that you get to work with tons of different characters, and it was so much fun. It might have been maybe just me because I was in the college program, and you kind of get the short end of the stick because you get all of the last shifts. So there's a thing called the bid, and basically you pick your schedule and you pick which hours you want to work and which characters you get to work with. And so if you are seasonal or part-time or a CP, you don't get to pick your schedule, and it just is random every single week. So I actually really liked that because I got to work with so many different characters, and it was so much fun. I think my favorite characters to work with were either Tinkerbell or Naveen and Tiana. Naveen and Tiana were so funny because they could just talk with each other, and I mean, it's still fun being, you know, around characters that are just by themselves, but it's always really cool to be with characters that are with more than one character because of the way they just play off each other and create stories like with one another. It's just really fun and super entertaining. So I absolutely loved those shifts. Anytime I was with Tink, it was always so much fun. So those were probably my favorite shifts, but I loved being with so many different characters. I got to be with all of the Winnie the Pooh's friends at one point and dining. I was with all the princesses at different times. What else? Naveen and Tiana. I was with Peter Pan one time. I did Jafar, and I also did, it would take me a while to think about it, but I was with a lot of different characters, especially during the holidays. Oh, I was with all the 7 dwarves a couple different times. That was fun. So yeah, it's just a really great opportunity, and it's really fun to be there during the special events like the Halloween parties or even during like the Christmas time. Yeah, I absolutely loved it, and it was just really fun being with all these different types of characters. I feel like you were constantly changing it up, which is really nice. One big difference between being a character attendant and being a performer is that one is physically exhausting while the other is emotionally exhausting. So when I was an attendant, honestly, I lost, I want to say 10 pounds within the first 2 months because I was walking everywhere. So I had a Fitbit, and during one of my shifts, I was at the Incredibles dance party. I would get 35,000 steps in because I was constantly moving and dancing with kids and dancing with performers, and I got so many steps in. So I was physically exhausted. You get, I think, you get at least one 15-minute break. It depends on how long your shift is, but you get like 2 15-minute breaks and a half-an-hour lunch. So you don't get a ton of breaks, and you're on your feet the entire time. I'm sure if there was cast members that needed different accommodations, they would give that to them. But for me, because I was healthy, I was able, you know, I had to stay on my feet the entire time. So it's like a 6-hour shift, and so it could be very physically exhausting. There were so many nights where I was just sore the next day, or I was just completely wiped out by the end of my shift because you're just on your feet and you're moving around and you just don't even realize how much you're exercising, but you're walking around the entire shift. So being an attendant is very physically exhausting, while being a performer is very emotionally exhausting. So performers get a lot more breaks. You're on set for an hour, then you're off for an hour. So you do have longer breaks, but you are so emotionally exhausted. I didn't even know what it was like to be emotionally exhausted, or that was a thing, until I started being a performer, because you're giving 110%. You're putting all your energy into your interactions with guests, and you're trying to be excited for every single guest and be creative, so you're using a lot of your energy. Both are exhausting, but in different ways. I thought that was really interesting and something to keep in mind too if you're looking into both those roles, that they are exhausting both at times. One thing that wasn't so fun though was closing the lines and having unhappy guests. So it happened to me pretty often when I was with Naveen and Tiana because you have to close their line every single time. I think it was easier when I knew when the line was closing. Like I would know, I would look at my watch. You have to have a watch on too. It's part of your costume, and I would look at my watch and see what time it was and see how full the line was. And I got really good at closing the line and knowing when the last person was. And honestly, you do get some unhappy guests because they say, this is our favorite character, we've been so excited to see them all day, and please just one more, like can't you just let one more person in? And it's just hard because they, you know, people get really upset about it. But I think it's easier to, when you think about the big picture, it's easier to close the lines, if that makes sense. So the performers are on stage or on set for like 45 minutes to an hour, and they have to have a set time when they're off. So if you don't let them off by their set time because you let one more family in or two more families in, they're gonna be the ones that are upset about you, and they're your coworkers. They're the ones you have to work with all the time. So it makes more sense to like treat your coworkers fairly as opposed to letting one or two more guests in the line. And at the same time, if you let them in, that's not fair to the other guests you said no to. So if I say no to one guest, another guest comes in, they're all upset, be like, you know, like if I let you in, that's not fair to the other like 10 people that I've already turned away. So I kind of rationalized and empathized with it, and I also made sure I had another option open. So if they were closing their line but they're going to be back in like 5 minutes, I'll say, hey, you know what? They're closing the line right now, but they'll be back at this time. They're going to go make beignets. If I was with Naveen and Tiana, I would say, hey, you know what? They're going to pop some beignets in the oven. They'll be right back in about 5 minutes or so. You always give them a different option. If it's their, you know, let's just say it's the last group of the night, and they're just really bummed and they're so excited. The way I rationalize it too, and this, I mean, this could be totally wrong, but a lot of times they say, oh, we've been so excited, this is our favorite character. If that was their favorite character, they would have been their first group in the morning, or there was 7 other opportunities for them to meet that character that day. So it's hard, but at the same time, you have to know that a lot of people do, I mean, some people could be telling the truth, but a lot of people do lie to you and try to get one more person in. And honestly, a funny phrase was, please for the baby, because there are so many moms that would say, oh please for my baby, they're so excited. Like, you'd be surprised how often you heard that. So I feel like that was a common like character attendant joke, but you get that a lot, and what's hard is you become less empathetic to it because you see it all the time. It's not an easy job. It's really hard to do. You get unhappy people that are mad at you. They're not gonna be mad at the characters. They're mad at you because you're the one standing in between them saying, I'm sorry you can't see this character. But I think for me, what helped me with that was just empathizing and understanding the full situation, understanding what the consequences were to my performers who are on stage working. What would happen if I let, you know, 5 more guests in and they got off 10 minutes late? Or what would happen to those first 5 guests that I turned away if I let one more person sneak in? Like, how that would make them feel. So I think understanding the whole situation and explaining that to other people, just saying like, hey, you know, like if I let you in, that's not fair to the other families I already turned away. They could kind of understand and they wouldn't be so upset. So that's kind of how I dealt with it. It wasn't fun, but it's kind of part of the job, you know? Last but not least, one of my favorite things about being a character attendant is that you really became a storyteller, and it was so much fun. It was definitely a challenge, I have to say, but it was really cool. I liked being able to be with these different characters and come up with stories and interact with the stories. Like, I feel like it really brought the magic alive, especially if you have a really good character attendant as a performer and they like to engage with the story. I would try really hard not to take the story away from the performer. Like, they would be the ones to tell the main story, but I would still like engage with the story. Like, I would say if Naveen and Tiana had to go away, I'd be like, oh, you know what? They're gonna go pop some beignets in the oven, they'll come right back. Or if Winnie the Pooh's gone for maybe about 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, you know what? He was really having a big rumbly in his tummy and he was craving a pot of honey, so he's gonna go get some honey, but he'll be right back. So you're always thinking of stories with these characters, and that was really fun, creating stories and really engaging with that. I feel like it really made me be more creative, and it helped me really engage more, and I feel like it made the whole interaction a lot more magical. One of my favorite shifts was being at Princess Fairy Tale Hall because of the costumes. So a lot of people did not like the character attendant costume for the hall, but I loved it because you have this might be really weird, but you know the Seinfeld episode where it's like the pirate shirt with the puffy sleeves? I feel like it was like that costume, and I just loved the puffy sleeves. I feel like it was very slimming through here, and I just loved the puffy sleeves. I thought it was so cool. A lot of people just hated it, but I thought it was cool because I felt like I was a page, or I felt like I was a member of the castle. And another shift that I loved, and I had to wear that costume for too, was working with the Beast in his castle, and that was such a magical place to work, especially as an attendant. And it was so cool because every time the Beast walked out, everyone would be clapping, and you'd have to get the crowd clapping, so you'd go ahead of the Beast and clap and make everyone clap, and it was just so wonderful. I absolutely loved working in that shift too. So yeah, there's a lot of great places to work as an attendant. I think it's really fun. When I was interviewing for the college program, my very first choice was to be a performer, and that was my second choice, but I'm so glad I got the opportunity to be an attendant. If you're doing the interview for the college program and you really want to be an attendant, talk about what you would do as an attendant. Like, really emphasize that you're good at storytelling and you love engaging with guests and you love engaging with the story, and talk about like how you would make up a story for, let's just say Mickey Mouse, he needed to run but he'll come right back. You could say, oh, you know what, he's gonna go give Minnie a quick phone call, make sure those flowers were delivered to her, it's their special dinner date night they're having tonight. You know, create a story and show the person that you're interviewing with that you really care about being an attendant, or you love engaging in stories. So it's kind of like playing improv a lot, because you have to come up with things on the fly, and you really want to keep in character integrity, and you want to keep the magic alive, so you have to constantly keep thinking of stories. But it's a really fun job. It's very rewarding. It's kind of intimidating because you do get some unhappy guests and you have to deal with it, but I feel like it builds really great customer service skills. So I love being an attendant, and it was really fun. So that was all about what it was like for me, what it was really like for me to be an attendant. And yeah, I don't think there's much else more. If you guys have more questions, let me know. I kind of want to do a separate video just talking about all my crazy guest experiences. And I definitely had some as an attendant where guests were just not happy at all, and how I dealt with that. So if you guys are interested in that, leave a comment down below and just say you'd like to see a video on that, or if you have any other ideas, or if there's anything I missed, or if you were an attendant and you liked being an attendant, or if you hated being an attendant, let me know that too. I'd love to talk with you guys more about Disney. It's just so much fun. I really enjoy it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!